So we are going to continue our discussion in section 7.2. And this time we're going to look at unit rates. Unit rates are a specific type of rate. Right? So a unit rate is the rate for a single unit. Right? So since we're thinking rates, we're thinking that our two different quantities have two different units of measurement. So we're going to have a different unit of measurement in the numerator and denominator. Right? The difference between what we just did before and what we're going to do now, in the last example we were simplifying. We were keeping our answers as fractions. When we were looking at those fractions, our denominators could be any number. They could have a number in there, they could have a 1 in there. When we're dealing with unit rates, we're focusing on simplifying our denominator to 1. So the way that we're going to do this is we're going to do long division. So if we see the word unit rate, right, unit rate should tell us that we want to do long division. Okay. Now, when we're setting up a division problem and we have some sort of fraction, we have a numerator over a denominator. When we work through the long division, remember that our numerator is our dividend, that's what's being divided, and our denominator is the divisor, that's what's doing our dividing. So when we rewrite this as a long division problem, our divisor is going to go out front, right? And then our numerator is going to go inside. Right, so to work through this first one, we are going to start. Our denominator in this case is 5 algebra classes. So our 5 is going to go out front, and our 215 is going to go inside. Right? So when we're doing long division, I always compare it to the Price is Right. Right? We want to get as close as we can without going over. So that being said, we want to get as close as we can to, not 2, because 2 is too small, not the 215, because that's too big. We want to get as close as we can to that number 21 without going over. Right? So what we can do, if long division is not necessarily your favorite thing to do and or you don't feel as comfortable with it, we can always use a multiplication table to help us. I'm going to show you guys, in this case, just a multiplication table that's in the bottom of one of our pages in the textbook. Again, there is one posted on Moodle that you can feel free to print out. So 5 is our divisor. So looking at our multiplication table, we're going to go across our row of 5s. Right? And as we're moving across this row of 5s, we want to get as close as we can to 21 without going over. So as we go over, well, 5, that's not close enough. Neither is 10, neither is 15. Well, now we hit 20. Right? 20 is as close as we can get to 21 without going over, because our next number, 25, is going to be over. Right? So this is the number that we want to use. This is the product that we want to use. Now, we're going to put this product into our long division problem, right? And then the other factor that's being multiplied with the 5 is that 4 that's up top. Right? So looking at this 20, we're in our row of 5s, and it is in the 4 column. So going back to our example, we are going to put a 4 up top. 4 times 5 is 20, and we're going to line that 4 up over that 1. Since we're putting the 20 under the 21, we're going to subtract, we get 1. Now we're going to bring down the next number, which is a 5. Now we're going to do the same thing. We're going to divide 5 into 15. If we go across the row in our multiplication table again, this one works out perfectly, right? Because 5 times 3 gives us exactly 15. We subtract. We have no denominator left, right? So we are done doing our division at this point. So we're going to write this in words. We're going to start with our answer, our quotient, right? And that came from our numerator, so we're going to label that in students. So 43 students. Since our denominator has been reduced to 1, we're going to use the word per, right? And our unit of measurement for the denominator was class, so we have 43 students per class, right? That per meaning our denominator equals 1. Right, so as we go through, again, when we're simplifying rates, we have some different phrases that we can use. When we're doing unit rates, we're usually going to see the word per in there. Right, so let's work through a couple more examples. in this next problem, we are going to find a unit rate for $132 over 8 hours. Right, so again, we're going to set this up and we're going to put our denominator out front. Right, so we're going to put our 8 as our divisor out front. 132 goes inside. 8 goes into 13 once, because 1 times 8 is 8. 13 minus 8 gives us 5. Then we bring down our 2. Right, so now we're going to divide 8 into 52. Right, so again, we can use our multiplication table to assist us in this. Right, so as we are looking across, right, we want to get as close as we can to 52 without going over. Well, that's going to give us 6 times, because 6 times 8 is 48. 7 times would be 56, which would be too much. We subtract. 52 minus 48 gives us 4. Right, if you'd rather show the borrowing, feel free to show the borrowing as you're doing your subtraction in there. Right. Notice that we have a remainder this time. We don't want a remainder as we are going through these problems. So we are going to put a decimal point in here, and we are going to put a 0 so we can continue on with our division. That means that we're going to have a decimal point up top. Right? So we're going to bring down that 0. 8 goes into 40 exactly 5 times. And now we have a remainder of 0, so we are good. Right? So as we write this as a unit rate, we're thinking money here. So I'm going to label this as $16.50, because money always has 2 decimal values, right, per hour. Again, the per means our denominator turned into 1, and we know that's the case because we use long division. All right, now for this last one, we are going to be required to do some long division. I kind of use this area for B. Right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show my work for C kind of over here. Right? So we have $6.60 divided by 2.6 pounds. Right? So we're going to set this up, and our 2.6 is going to go outside, and our $6.60 is going to go inside. Right, now, when we're dividing with our decimals, we always want to change our divisor out front to a whole number. So that means that we're going to move this 26 over, our decimal point over, to give us a 26. That means we're going to have to move our decimal point over inside. So now instead of thinking 6.6, we're thinking 66. And that means our decimal up top is going to go right there as well. Now, when we have 1-digit divisors, as we did in the last couple of problems, right, we can easily use our multiplication table to help us. Right? In this particular case, we don't have a nice handy-dandy multiplication table. Right? So one thing that we can do is, if you have 2-digit divisors or 3-digit divisors or something along those lines, we can actually, instead of testing multiplication or doing estimating, there's a bunch of different ways, a bunch of different approaches. We can do some simple addition to give us a nice, easy way to work through this problem. So I'm going to grab a little sheet of scratch paper here, right? And what I'm going to do on this sheet of scratch paper is I'm going to start adding 26 to itself a bunch of different times. Right? So 26 plus 26, 6 plus 6 is 12, carry the 1, that gives us 52. That's the same as 26 times 2. Now I'm going to add 26 again. I get 8 and 7. That's the same as 26 times 3. Add 26 again. 14, carry the 1. 104. That's 26 times 4. Go again. 4 plus 6 is 10. Carry the 1. 3, 1. That's 26 times 5. Right, now I'm going to carry this just up to the top, since my sheet of scratch paper is a little on the small side. Add 26 again. Right, 156 is 26 times 7. Add 26 again. 7, 5, 6, 7, 8. 182 is 8 times. Add 26 again. We get 8. 8 plus 2 is 10. Carry the 1, we get 2. So 208 is 9 times. And once we, oops, I missed a 6. So that's 6. I apologize. 6, 7, and 8. All right, and we'll do one more time. What we want to do is we want to keep going until we hit 9 times. So I apologize for the mislabeling there in the middle, but it's all fixed. So if we look at our circled numbers, they should go in order. Right, 26 times 2 times 3 times 4 times 5 times 6 times 7 times 8 times 9. We never need to go more than 9 because if we were to do that, we'd be filling in 2 digits in the top of our multiplication table at once, and we don't need to do that. Okay, so we're going to use this little piece of scratch paper to help us with our division here. All right, so how many times does 26 go into 66? Right, so we're thinking the same thing that we did before. We want to get as close as we can to 66 without going over. Right, well, if we look at 26 times 2, that gives us 52. 78 would be too much. Right, so what we're going to do is we're going to put a 2 up top and then a 52 underneath. So the nice thing is once we have this list written out, we don't need to redo our multiplication. We know that 2 times 26 is 52. Right, we're going to subtract. That's going to give us 14. All right, we're going to bring down a 0. All right, so how many times does 26 go into 140? All right, so looking at our list, 130 is 5 times, 156 is 6 times. That's too much. So we're going to put a 5 up top. All right, and then we're going to use this 130, which is our 5 times 26. We subtract, we get 10. Just like we did before, we're going to add zeros. We don't need to add a decimal point because we already have our decimal point in our problem. 26 goes into 100. We're looking at our list 3 times, right? Because 4 would be too many. So 3 times 26 gives us 78. We borrow and subtract here. We're going to get 22. We're going to do one more. Right, 26 goes into 220. Looking at our list, that's going to be 8 times, right, which gives us 208. We get 12. And this is going to keep going for a while. This isn't going to evenly divide nicely. But when we're working through these problems, when you're working through the problems in MyMathLab, it'll tell you to round to a certain place value. Or in this case, if we go back to our original problem, when we look at this, we were dealing with money, right? So we were dealing with money, which means that when we're thinking about money, just like we did in this example, we want 2 decimal values in our answer. Right? So I'm going to take this and I'm going to round this. And I'm going to round this using that 8. Right? So that's going to give us roughly $2.54. Right? That 8 is going to make that 3 turn into a 4. So we're going to say that 2.538 rounds to, right? So we use our little squiggly marks, 2.54. Right? That 8 makes that 3 go up. So our final answer here, we're going to say is $2.54 per pound. Some of the ones that you're going to run into in your homework are going to work out nicely. Some of them you're going to have to do a little bit of rounding or keep some decimal values. So as you're working through these, again, decimal arithmetic, long division, I know it's not fun, but you do want to try to make sure that you're doing this practice by hand. Use your multiplication table to help you. Use a sheet of scratch paper with some different labeling of your sums, which is in turn going to give you your multiplication facts to use. If you do need extra help, have other questions about long division, there is other review material posted online, or you can reach out to me But either way, all of these problems in this example, we're looking at these, we're thinking unit rate. Unit rate is going to mean long division.